A good Erev Shabbos. This month that we're starting, the month of Iyar, is a month different from all the other months of the year in the sense that every single day of this month is almost like a bit of like Chol Hamoed. Pesach is like the first days of Yontif, and Shavuos, which we're counting toward after 7 weeks, will be the last days of Yontif. And all this time in between, it's almost as though we were in the middle of Chol Hamoed, we're in the middle of Yontif. And they're very holy days. They're days that are filled with power and opportunity for tremendous spiritual growth. There's a triangle upon which Judaism stands. God, Israel, and Torah are one. The holiday of Pesach expresses the revelation of the greatness of God, how He took us out of Egypt. Shavuos is like the expression of the greatness of the Torah. Days in between, the revelation of the greatness of us, of me and of you, of each of us, the Jew. Our greatness as a people and as individuals lies in our ability to get over ourselves, get over our egos, being able to put our needs second and the other person's first. When one is able to nullify their own will, to do the will of Shemaim, to do the will of heaven, he expresses the ultimate greatness of a Jew. So, during the days of Sfiras HaOmer, we count each day, anticipating the great day of Shavuos, which is coming up. Normally, when you count towards something, you count how many days are left, not how many you've accomplished. But during Sfira, we go the opposite direction. We've counted 1, we counted 2, we counted 3, etc. Why? Part of the answer of that is in order to strive for something great, especially in the service of God, you need to know how much you've accomplished. You need to recognize it. The inspiration of how far one has come will provide the impetus to aim even higher in the quest for their spiritual greatness. And not only is that true with ourselves as individuals, but it's also true with each other. By focusing on the good that somebody has done, pointing it out to them, we give them a desire to do even better. By counting Sfira, we're inspired to realize just how much we count. And by stressing the positive and appreciating the great value of every Jew, we won't be very surprised at the greatness in ourselves and in each other that gets manifest. It's a famous story about a high school teacher that was given a class in inner city New York and told she was getting a class of very special students. And the special was said with quotation marks around it, but she didn't pick that up, and she understood them as being special kids. And she treated them as special kids, and she treated them as though they were not only intelligent but eager to learn, and she provided them with all sorts of stimulating lessons. And the funny thing, at the end of that year, the marks were fantastic, the interest level was fantastically high. The class is a total success. And the principal came over to her and said, I don't know how you did it with this bunch of losers. And she says, what do you mean losers? You told me they were special. And he said, yeah, I did, but I meant, like special, sarcastically. And she hadn't realized that. And because she looked at them as special people with special powers, they responded specially. How we look at something, how we approach something is very, very important for how things turn out. And I think that's part of the lesson that I'm trying to share with you today is this idea of an ayin tov, of seeing a good. Our commentator Rashi makes mention that the definition of love in Judaism is seeing the good, choosing to see the good in the other person. Yeah, there's other stuff too, but it's what do you choose to see? And it's an amazing thing. This story of Tazria and Metzora revolves a lot about a plague, just like we find ourselves in now. There was a plague that came on the individual. It was a plague of a kind of leprosy-like disease that was usually brought upon a person for having spoken Lashon Hara, having created divisiveness between husband and wife, friends and family. And as a result, he was stricken with this disease and eventually cast out of the camp, out of society. He had to quarantine himself in order to be able to spend some time just thinking about what he'd done and how to fix it and to do teshuvah. And sorry, the word in Hebrew for plague is nega. The word in Hebrew for pleasure, it's got the same letters. It's Aliyin Nun Gimel. It's Eineg, as an Oneg Shabbat. And it's fascinating that the difference between a plague situation and a pleasurable situation is where you put the ayin. And you know that in Hebrew, ayin means eye. How you look at something can totally change what the import of that situation is going to be. And so the request, the learning from this week's parsha of Tazria Metzora, of coming into the month of Iyar, of dealing with Sfirah, counting towards Shavuos, of trying to fix the whatever it was that apparently destroyed 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva during these 7 weeks, that prevent us today from listening to music and from entertainment and from haircutting, etc., until Lag BaOmer. This state of mourning that we're entering into, it's all based on this not giving the other person the same kind of value and right to be as one gives oneself. And so I think that the message from this whole confluence of things, including the confluence of events that are going on beside us, around us, has to be that of learning to live and let be, learning to see the good in the other person, even though sometimes there are other things that are there. I think we're being given that opportunity to learn that very intensely, and being shut down, locked down with those self-same people. But please God, we're going to make a go of this, and we're going to accomplish what we need to in terms of learning to see what there is to appreciate in each other, what there is to appreciate in the opportunities and the situations that we find ourselves in. And we're going to turn the nega, including what's going on, as I say, around the world around us. Somehow we're going to be able to turn that ultimately into an eineg, into something that we can share pleasure with each other and bring pleasure to the world and to Hashem. Please God, this happens for us soon. Meantime, practice the Shabbos.